What's up, River City? It's your boy Zach Plemming, and I wanted to drop a line and sort of reintroduce you to River City stories. Reintroduce where have I been? What is it? What went wrong? What is my learnings from the first release and from everything that I've done last year? What the new vision is? What you can expect this year? And when the podcast return date is? I think for me, I'm just going to start in with the where have I been. It was in July last year that I decided to put a hold on the the whole podcast thing. And the reason why I did that is I just lacked direction, and part of me just wasn't being fulfilled by it. It took me a while now to really understand why I wasn't being fulfilled by it, what it was, and I really had to work through that and see if this is actually something I still want to continue and persevere. Now, the reason, I guess, at the beginning, what happened is I was getting really frustrated at work. I wasn't being fulfilled at work, and I love to talk to people. I've been told that I've got what some people would refer to as the gift of the gab, and I thought to myself, well, if Joe Rogan can do it and sit down and just start talking, I can do it. I know, funny way of looking at it, but I had that sort of naive confidence about me that I really thought that I could do it. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is my first point was a selfish way of going into it, especially in terms of something like mental health. It was a very selfish way of looking at it. I wanted to do this to benefit myself so I can earn money, turn this into a career, whatever, and leave my job. And it's only in reflection now that I can really see that it wasn't a good enough reason to really grit through. So when I released it and I wasn't getting the feedback that I wanted, I wasn't getting the praise, I wasn't all of a sudden Joe Rogan and killing it, I really looked into myself and I said, well, you're shit, you can't do this. And when I wasn't getting the feedback that I wanted, when I wasn't getting someone coming going, you're amazing, Zach, it really took me back. Again, I know that it's very naive, but at the same time, it was very foolish of me. Now, I could tell from even the content or lack of content that I was putting out back then. It was my Instagram posts, my Facebook posts, anything that I was really doing was, hey, do something for me. Hey, and by do something for me, it was, here's my podcast, listen to it, tell me I'm good, tell me I'm great, validate me. And it only took until I sort of stepped away from it. I did it because I realized I did it. I put out 7 episodes or 6, 7, 8 episodes. And then as I was putting them out, I was waiting to hear people tell me how great I am. How wonderful I am in a really self-indulgent way that I didn't even continue to record new episodes. It was like, all right, this will be the one that someone will say, you're going to be great, you're excellent, and it's going to turn for me. And I was waiting for a moment instead of working at it day in, day out. So I guess that's why I took a break. I wasn't in it for the right reason. And part of me, I guess my body was telling me, Zach, you got to take a step back here and realize why you're doing this. And I almost felt like a bit of a fraud, but especially with the topic of mental health, putting that out there. But the beauty of it was this whole journey has helped me understand my battles and help me accept my battles with mental health, my depression, my anxiety, my social anxiety, my bouts that I go through, which can last a few months sometimes. But it really helped me understand and then start to connect with people that were on that level. Despite the self-indulgent reasons, there was definitely a feeling of every episode that I put out, I thought it was a good conversation and it would add value to people. But I guess there's that underlining there. But at the same time, when I wasn't receiving that, the conversations that I would have with people about it was, you're actually doing a good thing. It's great that we're talking about mental health, but I just didn't have a vision. I didn't really have a direction. And again, I'll reference Joe Rogan. I thought that you could just sit down, talk, and if people are going to like it, and it's almost it's almost self-delusional in a point. He's been doing it since podcasts were really. I think he was one of the earliest adopters of podcasting. So he's just had to establish himself, and it didn't happen overnight. And that's something that I really struggled to grasp at the time. I'm in a better understanding of where I want to go now. I'm in a good grasp that I don't care if I'm going to be the next Joe Rogan or not. I just want to help people. I want to change. I want to help, and I want to inspire people. A coach that I actually went to called it CHI, change, help, inspire, and that's absolutely what I'm trying to achieve here now with River City Stories and the whole social media side of things that I'm going to get into in just a moment. In terms of what went wrong, I sort of explained it. I sort of really summed that up as best as I could just then, and hopefully it all made sense. In terms of where I've been, well, on hiatus, obviously a little bit after the July when I decided not to proceed with it, we then went into the Mount Cootha Monday, and I started to really explore. And at the time, I was going through my own battles. I was going and really in the depth of some of my depression there, and the outlet that I had was to put it into camera. Mount Cootha, try to inspire people to be fulfilled. The service of others is a magical way of making yourself feel better, and it really did. I stayed strong, and I did want to go sober. However, in December, when the party season came, I definitely 100% fell off the bandwagon, and I was doing really good. I'd picked myself up. I was building momentum, and then December came, and I started drinking again. I started smoking because I was drinking, and all of that became one big tumbleweed, and I built up momentum with that. And it's only just been recently that I've gotten myself out of that again, and it always seems to be that cycle for me. I get into this wicked cycle and this self-destructive pattern, and I think to myself, future Zach will be better. Future Zach, but the fact is, every single day is going to be future Zach. Future Zach will deal with it until one day you need to pick up your shit and fucking do something about it. And that's what I've done recently. I was wallowing in my own pity. So January came around. My birthday's in January. Another good excuse to say, and it's not even the fact of being sober. It's just the self-control that I have about it. So I'll be talking a little bit more about what I'm going to be doing in the next coming weeks around this year, and my self-control and what I'm trying to achieve with that. The vision of River City Stories is a simple vision. All I want to do is change the way we talk about mental health. There's a big misunderstanding of mental health and mental illness. There's a stigma, as people call it. There's so much around that, but where does it all start? And it starts by changing the way we talk about it, by breaking down what you can and can't talk. I want to remove small talk from sort of my vocabulary. I want to remove small talk from my social interactions, and that's something that I've been trying day in, day out to do. And that has really helped a lot with the sort of journey again that I'm on, and the journey that we're moving through. So the vision is changing the way we talk about mental health, and the content that I'll be putting out is going to be a lot about starting off with what is mental health, and really having a bit of a deep dive into what mental health is, how it can be structured, and that is a big rabbit hole to go down, I know, but I'm up for it, and I'm really keen to see where this all goes, and hopefully it adds value to you guys as well as the audience, as the listeners, which would be absolutely amazing. So I've got some big plans this year. Obviously the relaunch of the podcast. We've got the content side of things. So I'm going to really be ramping up my social media. So I'll be having the YouTube channel. We'll be doing a lot of cool stuff on there. I'll unveil that as the coming weeks come, but please be aware that it's going to be a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but in saying that, it's also going to be a fun ride, and I think that you're going to be entertained, you're going to be moved, and at the same time, you're really going to understand the vision that we're trying to paint here. On top of that, with Instagram and Facebook, Facebook is really going to be worthwhile to be following us on there, because we're going to have our events. I'm definitely wanting to pop up a couple events this year, and it's not just going to be the Mount Cootha Mondays. I'm talking some live events, and when we get the podcast up and running, we're going to have some live podcast events. We're going to have a few charity style events, which I'll get into later on in the year and explain the vision for that and what we're trying to achieve with that. But as it stands, Instagram is definitely going to be where a lot of the short form content is going to be, and it's going to be a really good platform for us to really engage with our listeners and our audience. Now, I have said our and we a few times, and the reason why I've said that is because I'm putting together a bit of a team. So with the articles that we'll be putting out, I've got a friend who'll be assisting me with that. We've also got another mate who you'll meet very shortly, Brody, who's absolutely going to be helping with the content that we're putting out, and he'll be a bigger part of River City Stories as we go through, or as big as part as he wants to be anyway. But at the moment, we've been going out and we've been recording some content that will be coming out in the next few weeks, or in the next week, and then the coming weeks after that. So keep an eye out for that, because it's absolutely going to be amazing. We had a lot of fun doing it, and I can't wait to share that with you as well. I guess finally, the last thing that we should probably touch on is the podcast return date. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't actually have a podcast return date at this stage. It's definitely something I want to achieve, and I know what it's going to look like. The way I want to style it is we're going to have two portions of the podcast. We're going to have lived experience. So that's your people that have gone through the mental health struggles and the battles, and their story and how they got through it, or if they're still there, what they're doing to get themselves out of it, to help break down that barrier of what mental health is, and how they're sort of battling with their demons and getting past that. But in addition to that, that's a very emotional side, obviously, and that's going to be a part where we play a big role in supporting each other and giving that aspect of a peer-to-peer in this person's going through it, I can go through it and I can work through it as well. And then we really want to give you some tools. So with the tools, that's really going to come into having what I like to call the experts on there. So we've got lived experience and then the experts. So the experts are going to be people like nutritionists, like personal trainers, like psychologists. We're really going to ramp that up so we can add value to the people, and give you tools from people from a clinical side of things, from a scientific side of things. So we've got the emotional, and then we've got the clinical and that scientific approach as well, where somewhere in between, there should be a lot of value for you to listen to and get something out of it as well. Excuse me. But that's pretty much it. You'll hear from us in the next week with some really, really good news and some what I like to think some good content for you to see and for your viewing pleasure. I'm mindful of the time. This has probably taken up too much time, but thank you for listening. If you do like what you hear, please share with your friends. This shirt here is going to go on sale soon, so be sure to keep an eye out on what that is. This is the Fill Up Your Cup shirt. You can see River City there in a cup. On the back there is a bunch of positive affirmations. I've sort of alluded to it in the past, but that will be up for sale soon. Obviously that's a big support and going to enable us to do what we love doing, and that's talking to people. That's putting out some great content for you guys and sharing it with you all to hear. So keep an eye out for that launch, and we'll keep you there. Holla!